In last week's episode of Lower Decks, we get to visit the planet of Orion for the first time ever in Star Trek history, and it should be a momentous occasion given how iconic the Orions are throughout the entire franchise. However, I am a little bit disappointed to say that it was the most boring episode for me out of the entire season, and there have been some episodes so far that have just been straight filler. So I guess I'm just a little bit sad to say that the three things that we know about Orions in current lore, the fact that they use pheromones, the fact that they're pirates, and also that they're slightly into indentured servitude, all these things were just hammered home, absolutely spammed, but we didn't really get to learn too much about the Orions outside of that new murder bug game. This week, on the other hand, is a total just flip around, because this episode is just far more appealing than the last. We have absolute Betazoid baddies on the ship, the Cerritos. I just had a way better of a time. Just to put it into perspective, in today's episode, in about a 5 to 10 second clip, we learned that the Caitians actually used to eat Betazoids in some previous history that they have with them. In that 5 seconds, I learned the same amount of new information about the Caitians than I did the entire Orion race visiting their home planet. On top of this, the plot between Tendi and her sister was very boring and lackluster, and it reminded me a lot of the Kawat Malat plotlines from Discovery, weirdly. Episode 5, midway point through the season, Empathalogical Fallacies. I enjoyed this episode way better, just had a lot more fun with this one, and I would like to think that this is one of the more comedic episodes that they've ever made of Lower Decks. It was rather unhinged. That is because in the episode, they were under the impression that they were under the telepathic influence of these complete Betazoid baddies. These really cool, interesting, sexy, provocative Betazoid female characters that were really entertaining to me. I loved them the entire episode. I loved their vibe, the fact that they loved drinking these very tall margaritas or these daiquiris. When I'm on vacation and I'm trying to let loose, I definitely enjoy a daiquiri that has way too many shots inside of it. I just like MILFs, and I really like Betazoids. When I was first watching through Star Trek, I think as a young person, it's really hard to relate to Loxwana. And when the Loxwana Troy episodes came around, I was thinking in my head, less of this stuff, more Dominion War. But now that I've gone back and I've rewatched Star Trek so many times and I've grown a little bit older, Loxwana Troy is one of the best characters in all of Star Trek. She has some of the best episodes, and some of them are really intriguing and thought-provoking, like that one episode where she fell in love with that scientist who had to go back to his home planet and die. Let's not just forget all of the episodes aboard Deep Space Nine, including the one which introduced Xanthi Fever, the Fascination episode, the one that made it Jake Sisko have a crush on Major Kira. Loxwana Troy is a character that really teaches you about loss, about tragedy, passage of time, and some of the feelings that can gripe you as you grow old and have a sense of fragility and vulnerability. Basically, everybody on the Cerritos thought that they were under the telepathic influence of these really fine Betazoid women, but it happened to be T'Lyn, and this was also another huge T'Lyn episode. They're giving her a bunch of spotlight. Now I'm starting to like T'Lyn more than the other lower deckers. Like, I'm starting to like her more than Tendi, Boimler, and Rutherford. I guess I'm a little bit bored of those guys by now. And now the T'Lyn train is rolling in, and she is such a likable character. She's everything a Vulcan should be. In the midway point of the episode, she did the Vulcan nerve pinch to that one Trill ensign, and that line when she's talking to Mariner towards the end of the episode where she refers to herself as being Vulcan as a mother. That made me laugh out loud. That is just something that I love to hear in the Star Trek canon. The fact that a Vulcan said that, came out of their mouth, is just a huge dub for me. All the provocative behavior in the bar was really fun to see as well. Miggly Moo getting frustrated at the replicator and cursing at it was my favorite part, I think. Him being such a level-headed, nice character, and him just saying, like, F you to the replicator, that was pretty amusing. Loved the Betazoid women. They did a great job of reminding me of Loxana Troy and also just Beta Z culture in general, it's cool to see that they are kind of back to their healthy, regular selves after they were invaded during the Dominion War. And I read on Reddit, some people were mentioning that there are Star Trek novels to kind of say that the casualties on BETAZOID were upwards of like millions. So that's crazy. Definitely something that is hard to culturally bounce back from, you know, having your world literally occupied by Jem'Hadar. Some of the references and Easter eggs that I saw in today's episode, I don't know if we've seen this crew member before, but there's a science officer that was in the bar scene that was wearing a visor exactly like Geordi. In the hallway, you could see Big Merp kind of entranced because he has the headset on that is from the Next Generation episode, The Game, where they get that headset on Ryza, and that also makes sense because they're on their way to Ryza in today's episode. Also, something that just kind of gives it a +1 to the score. I don't know who wrote this in, whose idea this was, but absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you guys saw Keishon doing the Naruto run, like the Naruto Shippuden run, where you just kind of put your hands back because that's aerodynamically how ninjas run. I almost fell out of my chair. That was so funny. For them to put that in Star Trek just puts a huge smile on my face. And something that they were not trying to hide at all that was very, very explicit was the Malcolm Reed Enterprise 1000-piece puzzle. That was really goofy as well. And when the security officers save the day right at the end and deter them away from the neutral zone, and then you get that little scene of the Romulans being like, "Oh man, they turned away from the neutral zone and we don't get to blast them with our disruptors today." That's a peak scene, and I almost was anticipating some sort of reaction from them with the Cerritos getting so close, and I'm very happy and satisfied that I got it. With all that being said, with these Lower Decks episodes being kind of short, and with a lot of the more recent episodes being less reliant on those references and Easter eggs and kind of just picking out a single concept or idea, like the BETAZOID women, and kind of building a whole entire episode around it, for all those reasons, my reviews are going to be a lot shorter and to the point, and I think that that's probably better. I'm going to give today's episode an 8 out of 10. I think it just appealed to my personal bias. I love Betazoids, I love BETAZOID, I love MILFs, I love daiquiris, and I love a good time. For all those reasons, and the fact that this was just a really funny episode and I enjoyed it infinitely more than last week's, it's gonna get an 8 out of 10 for me. I strangely liked the Betazoid MILF episode. All that being said, let me know how you guys thought about the episode. Please leave a comment down in the comment section below. They're my favorite thing about the platform. If you're enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. And once I hit to 10K subscribers, I'm going to dress up as a Star Trek alien, my favorite, and I'm going to go out in public and shoot a funny video. Please slap a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.